Hey, Dr. Noel here. I've got another really great segment here on information that you can use. These are things that you should be aware of and you should think about every time you put something into your body. The article for today is basically how to assess a regional and whole gut transit time with wireless motility capsule. The reason why I picked this is because this article basically gives us very specific information on how long it takes to digest food. How long does it take to get food from one end to the other? And these are the findings, and you'll see that obviously the ranges can vary vastly from person to person. And we'll talk about what are the things we can do to make that whole process more efficient and faster. Not too fast, but what's that ideal time, and how to make that really a good, healthy process. So first of all, digestion begins in the mouth, right? The very first step of digesting food is chewing, and it's a step that we often tend to rush through. And it's actually the most critical step, because if you really chew your food really well, you can really shorten your, we call it transit time. The food can be absorbed better. What you want to do is with your teeth, you want to flatten and break up the food as much as you can so that enzymes and gastric acid and all that stuff gets in there to help break it down further. If the food is swallowed whole and not chewed down completely, then the amount of work that the gastric juices have to do, the amount of work that your enzymes have to do is multiplied, and the amount of time it takes to digest your food gets longer and longer and longer. So these are the findings. So for the food to make it out of your stomach, it can take 2 to 5 hours. Your stomach should be the size of your fist. Just imagine the whole meal that you're eating, however big it may be, it all goes into that little stomach, and it's going to sit there for 2 to 5 hours. Maybe longer sometimes, but usually that's just about where it sits for most people. Now, 2 to 5 hours is a big difference, right? What makes the difference between a 2-hour and a 5-hour transit time for the stomach? Well, obviously, quantity is number one, but another really common, important thing to consider is the type of foods that you eat. Some foods are indigestible. Some foods are genetically modified. Some food are modified in labs. Some foods have additives that don't belong in foods. And all those factors, and I'll tell you what my top most indigestible foods are in just a moment, but 2 to 5, so think about that. Now, I want you to think about this every time you eat, and the reason why is because when you choose the food to eat, don't just think about what tastes good or what might or might not be healthy, but think about the amount of energy that you're gonna have to spend to break it down, okay? Most of you already know, I'm a huge smoothie fan. I could live on smoothies. You know, I could have smoothies every meal all the time. I could be on a smoothie diet for months and years and I'd be really happy. A big reason for that is because I feel great when I have them. If you want to shorten your transit time, obviously smoothies are good. However, I would even recommend to chew your smoothies. So the reason for that is because it's in your mouth that you also have some enzymes that begin to be secreted, especially enzymes to break down carbohydrates and sugars. That starts in the mouth. So chew your smoothies. Even if it's a liquid meal, chew it. All right, 2 to 5 hours. Think about that. Next, small bowel transit time is 2 to 6 hours. And the colon transit time, and the colon is the very end piece. That's the large intestine. That's right before the exit. That is 10 to 59 hours. So whole gut transit time can vary from 10 to 73 hours. That's crazy. 10 to 73. Obviously, you want to be on the healthier end and have closer to a 10-hour transit time. 73, I mean, you're getting into day 3, right? So things need to keep moving. And so the healthier you are, the more it moves. What happens if it doesn't move? 73 means your liver dumps all the toxins from your body into your gut. to get rid of them. It dumps them in there to get rid of them. So the longer the transit time, the longer toxins sit in your system, and they can be reabsorbed in your colon. That's where it gets reabsorbed, and it can go back in circulation, back to your brain, back to your heart, back to all your vital organs, okay? So think about all those things. Help yourselves and improve that transit time. So one other really important thing to consider is nutrient blocking foods. Yes, so there are foods you eat that will block absorption of other nutrients. So you may think, well, I take all these vitamins, why is it that I'm deficient in some things? Well, you may be consuming things that block absorption of other nutrients. For example, number one nutrient blocking food is going to be fast foods. Fast foods, so fried fast foods especially, the fried fast foods. So the fats that they use and the fact that they're fried, those are fats that are considered extremely inflammatory, but they're indigestible. They block absorption of heavy metals, of trace minerals, not heavy metals. We don't want heavy metals, trace minerals. But mineral absorption, magnesium is a big one. Magnesium gets blocked. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're so depleted in magnesium. Sugar's another one. Now, the thing with sugar is 1 teaspoon of sugar is enough to suppress your immune function for 5 hours. 5 hours, that's all it takes. Craziness. So if you're sick, or you feel like you're run down, or you're not sleeping enough, whatever the reasons are, if your stress is high, stay away from the sugar. And even though it may feel like you want it, it's the worst time to have it, okay? A lot of people get sick around the holidays. A lot of sugar in the holidays. Weak immune system. Artificial sweeteners are just as bad. Really, really high in terms of indigestibility. Really hard to break down. They're chemicals. They don't belong. They're artificial. They don't belong in our bodies. And so they are obviously really harmful as well. Nutrient blocking again. So best things for transit time, all right? Number one, chew a lot. You want to try to slow down your meal intake. If you're going to have to consume a meal really fast, have a shake, have a smoothie, all right? I personally have 1 to 2 of those a day. On a work day, I often have a smoothie for breakfast and lunch, but breakfast is every day for me. Another thing that can slow your transit, that can help reduce transit time, meaning optimize better digestion so your food doesn't have to sit in your body as long, is hydrated foods, or in other words, avoid dehydrated food. All right, the more hydration you have, the more fluids are in there, the easier it is to break down and digest. Now, I want to be careful with that also in saying that I wouldn't drink a lot of fluid with your meal, your solids as well, because then you're diluting your food and diluting that stomach acid. So ideally you want to be hydrated going into your meal, but then eat foods that have natural hydration. If you think of it, all the foods that God made are naturally hydrated. They have everything you need in there. They even have enzymes to help you digest and break down your food. So avoid eating too much food is another best way to reduce transit time. It is better to have smaller meals more frequently, or just smaller meals. And I think that in general we can all agree that we overeat for the most part. Another big one is avoid the big 3 macros all at once. I know I'm giving you a lot of information and it may be overwhelming. I'm hoping you grasp one thing here or there, but macronutrients are fat, carbohydrates, and protein. Those are the macronutrients. Those are the things we talked about. Yeah. What are carbs? What are fats? What are proteins? People hear those words. There's 3 macros. Those are the 3 categories. In your meal, when you look at your food, if there's a lot of all 3, it's going to be really hard to digest that. For example, a pizza, lots of fat, lots of carbohydrates, and lots of protein. So if you've got a fully loaded pizza, my goodness, that will take forever to get through. And you might actually still burp it out the next day, right? I'm sure you've experienced that before. Bottom line, there are some indigestible foods that are healthy for you. So I use that word indigestible. fiber is indigestible. But fiber is naturally occurring, it's in the foods that God made, and it slows down rapid sugar absorption. It improves your sugar load, all right, or your glycemic load, glycemic load. So it slows it down and normalizes that whole process. So you want fiber, but you don't want the fast food, fried food, indigestible fats, right? So the bottom line is this: the more foods you consume that are foods that God created, the healthier you're gonna be. The further removed a food is from its natural state, the way God made it, the more problems you're gonna have. Now, there are some things that you can do to restore and help yourself if you're in a position where things are not working great, but you want to get to healthier. Yes, start with diet, absolutely. But another really important thing to consider, there are things you can take to help, because if your body is not working well, it may not be as simple as just a healthy diet, right? So digestive enzymes, this is one of my favorites called Catalyst 7. Can make a huge difference. So you take that right at the beginning of your meal, and it'll help to digest the food, especially if you're gonna go off the rails and have a lot of bad stuff. You wanna have these digestive enzymes with you. There are available specifically for gluten, for those who can't break down gluten well or don't do well with gluten. It's called Gluten Flam, and anytime you have gluten, you could just have one of those and it'll help to digest it. Another important one, actually I'll leave that aside, let's do this first. The gut is really the foundation of our health. Well, yes, that and the brain. We can't leave the brain out. But when it comes to restoring metabolic health, promoting healing in your body, no matter what the problem is, whether it's hormonal or it's something else, we want to start at the gut always. We always start there. So the gut basically needs some help sometimes to heal. And what I like to recommend is this gut restoration program here. So in there, it's got probiotic. These are human bacteria and they're spores. And by themselves can help to heal the gut in 30 days. And then prebiotic, which is the food to the probiotic. Prebiotics basically nourish bacteria, the healthy bacteria in your gut. And then in here, there's megamucosa, which is basically to help rebuild and heal the intestinal wall. It's a 90-day process to healing your gut. It's one of the most important things that you can do. I recommend most people do that once a year. Now, as far as the immune system goes, the immune system of your gut are immunoglobulins. This is IgG 2000. It's a great addition with the digestive enzymes to this program. Now, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want you to know that there are things there that can help. These are things that I have in my cupboard at home. I always have all of these. I don't necessarily take them every day because I'm on a really clean, healthy diet and I have been on it for many years. However, I want to go through at least one of those every year, whether it's a little bit here and there or it's an intensive, full healing approach. That was a lot, and I'm sorry for that. Rewatch it if you need to. Come to me if you have questions. Be happy to help, and have an awesome day.